Well, first of all, it's my great pleasure to welcome the Netherlands Ambassador to Singapore, Margriet Vono. Very nice to meet you, and welcome to Level 3. Very nice to welcome back Australia's High Commissioner to Singapore, Mr. Bruce Gosper. Bruce, nice to see you back here again. Thank you for joining us. A few other folks I'd like to welcome. I mean, there are many people who have travelled a long way, but firstly, I'd like to welcome Rud, who sort of put a lot of this together from the Netherlands Space Organisation. Marinus here from ICO, who you'll be hearing from a little bit later. And of course, there are many presenters this afternoon that we're going to hear from. And of course, you, the audience, are going to participate. So just very quickly, where are you? What is this? This space, just keeping in theme with the afternoon, this space here, Level 3, is managed by a company that I'm a co-founder with, and my colleague Derek, the other co-founder, called Padang. We manage this space with Unilever. Nice plug for another great Dutch Anglo company. Padang, of course, is fiercely Singaporean and Australian, and we manage Level 3. Level 3 is a space where great things do happen, like we're going to see this afternoon. We're very pleased, Padang, to be working with Grow Asia. This is the third in this series of their digital learning series. And so over the course of the afternoon, you're going to hear some people give us some background to what we're talking about, some great pictures, and then we're going to go into a panel, and then what we all like to do is ultimately network and get opportunities to speak to the project owners, asking them what's next, and most importantly, any words of advice you might have them, how you might feel that you can come involved in their projects. Because, let's face it, space for agriculture, well, it's kind of an interesting play on words, but we work a lot as an organisation, as Paul, I'm sure, will tell you what they're doing with smallholder farmers, which is such an important part, the backbone of Asia, you know, numbering over 100 million smallholder farmers. Anything we can all do to make their lives easier and at the same time make everything about smallholder agriculture more sustainable for the planet is really important work. So enough from me. I'm now going to hand over to Paul Vautier, who's Director of Knowledge and Innovation for Grow Asia, who's going to make some opening remarks. Over to you, Paul.
Welcome, everybody. I want to thank the Netherlands Space Office for working with us to present the session today, and I hope you find it very interesting. As business leaders, as policymakers, and as development actors, you are presented with a wide range of digital tools which you can use in smallholder value chains in a number of different ways. Our hope at Grow Asia is that these digital tools will transform the smallholder farming sector here in Asia over the years to come. Digital tools are an exciting opportunity to make smallholder value chains more efficient and, in the end, more prosperous for farmers. Our hope with this series is that it will play an enabling role in bringing these tools to the sector. You work on smallholder value chains as business leaders and as other important actors, and your understanding of these tools is critical to seeing them adopted. And not just understanding these digital tools, but also partnering with each other. So what we're trying to do through these events is connect business leaders up with development actors, with policymakers, with farmer groups, so that we can bring these digital tools to more farmers. At our last event, we explored how we could use drones to spray crops in a way that would protect farmers from the safety concerns of spraying themselves, but also make spraying much more accurate for farmers. Today, we move over to the question of Earth observation, and particularly satellite sensing. What's really interesting about Earth observation satellites when we think about smallholder farmers is that we now have a huge array of data which can tell us a lot about a small farm. And to give you a sense, a satellite can tell us about the plant health on a small farm, moisture levels, crop type, weather information, and generally how the farm is going and advancing. So on one hand, we have a whole array of data which has emerged in the last few years. And what's interesting about satellite information is a great deal of that's actually free. So a lot of the satellite information is actually freely available. On the other hand, we have millions of farmers who need this information in order to plan effectively on their farm and make good decisions that are going to help them improve their yields and their profitability. But there's a gap between these two things. We have this new data set that we've never really had before and the needs of farmers for this information. But what we really need between there is business models. We need entrepreneurs and businesses that can connect that information to farmers in a way that's meaningful and scalable. And that's what the 10 organizations that we have here today have begun to do, to connect that information together with farms. Several years ago, the Netherlands Space Office saw this opportunity. They saw that there was a gap between the data that was available and the needs of farmers. And what they did next, for me as a development actor, is really impressive. They went through and carefully screened for a whole range of projects and innovators that had a really good idea. But they didn't just give them enough resources to try out their idea. They gave them enough resources to try their idea and try it again and try it again. And this is the theme that we see right across the digitization of smallholder value chains. It's not something you do in 6 months. It's not something you do in a year. It's something that takes time to work out issues around farmer behavior, work out issues around trust. And that's what NSO did by giving these companies and these organizations enough resources to go through that development curve. And what's really exciting about today's event is that we have 10 project leads from right across Asia who've gone through that process, ready to share their stories with you here in Singapore. So if you're thinking about how satellite can be used in your business, how it can be used in your value chains, I really hope that today's session will really bring to life those lessons that have been learned with the support of the Netherlands Space Office. Before I hand over, I'd like to thank the Australian Aid Program and the Inclusive Business Action Network for the funding that makes these series possible. We think that they're a really important step in the digitisation of smallholder value chains across Asia, and a really interesting use of aid funding to impact decisions at scale. So thank you to both DFAT and to the Inclusive Business Action Network. I'll hand over to Adam now, and we can move on to the content of today's session. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Paul. Our next speaker is someone who's travelled a little further than Paul. Marinus Verwey, who is the CEO of ICO Cooperation. ICO is a global non-government organisation who has the very big purpose to eradicate poverty, inequality, injustice, to enable women and children to live lives of dignity and security. So he's going to share a little bit about their work. So over to you, Marinus. Your turn is now.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be able to speak here today at this important event. I'm based in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, and our regional hub here in the area is in Denpasar in Bali. Right. Let's go back. Okay, just getting the technical side done. This afternoon is all about partnerships. And I'll come back to that during the speech, but it's about partnerships. And the Netherlands Space Office was mentioned already. They started these partnerships 6 years ago. And in the region, in Asia, there's 11 out of the total of 23. And as far as I'm aware, there are not many similar programs that were started in this way, public-private partnerships, and translated down to smallholder farmer level. And, well, you can see the many logos. Maybe they're not all there, but it has included companies, it's including knowledge institutes, and it's including NGOs. And it's a really important program, and we're proud that this program is running. Just a few words about my own organization, ICO, established in 1964, so 55 years of experience in development, and changed enormously over the past 10 to 15 years. As you can see from this map, we have decentralized our operations, and we have 5 regional hubs on the 3 southern continents. And also what has happened is, from a traditional NGO that was mostly funded through the Dutch government, we have also become a hybrid organization, having a foundation but also having limited companies. So some of the companies that are mentioned here are actually companies that are SME developers, so that it's not only it's engaging in the business that is important, and in that way we have also changed our way of working. Okay, so we have translated our work into SDG language. I presume that that is familiar, the Sustainable Development Goals that were adopted by the UN about, I think in 2015. And we're concentrating on number 2 and number 8. So 2 is about food security, and 8 is about decent work, economic growth. And for ourselves, it's very much about SME development in the agri value chains. And within that, we've recently sort of defined 4 priority topics. Because within the frame of 2 and 8, we believe very much in blended finance. So years ago, it was all about grants. It's no longer only about grants. Grants are usually not good for businesses because they need to run on a sustainable business model themselves. We'll come back to that in a minute. So it's blended. About all our programs nowadays are about climate smart agriculture. With the climate change, we need to at least adapt to the changes. Youth entrepreneurship, which is a worldwide issue that younger people want to have jobs. And what is the future of farming if we cannot engage the younger generation? I think the average age of farmer is 55, and that is not the sexy type of job that many young people are looking for. So that's a real challenge. How are we going to change the face of agriculture? And last but not least, new technologies, and that is what this afternoon is going to be about and what we are going to show. But we see a lot of interlinkage between these 4 priorities. So that I think that new technology can also make farming more interesting for the next generation, because they are much more literate with technology than their parents. So one of the programs that we're doing in terms of the technology focus, that one of the 4 that I just mentioned, are the G4AW programs that we're talking about today. We have 4 programs running under the 11th in Asia that we are somehow partnering with. As you can see, it's Cambodia, 2 in Indonesia, and 1 in Vietnam. And increasingly, we are doing this, all our work, in public-private partnerships. And I think our lesson has been that the groups and the targets, the beneficiaries, the numbers are really increasing because of the fact that you partner with other organizations and with the corporate sector especially. So 10 to 15 years ago, we thought 10,000 farmers were a lot. Now we're talking about 100,000 farmers for each program. So that is where really a lot of power is developed. At the same time, smallholders, that's where we have the type of farmers we've always worked with, and they are also very important for the future of food security. So just going to that big picture before we go into more detail on the G4AW programs. I'm sure this is familiar. We have enormous population growth. The population growth in Africa is going to be even much larger than in Asia, with many young people. But I think the important trigger line here is the middle one, that the agri-food sector is enormous and very important, and that we will need a 60% growth in food production to feed the world population in the coming decades. And I think that cannot be reached without engaging smallholder farming. And I know that some years ago the FAO said, well, let's concentrate on large-scale farming. Nowadays, that has changed. So the smallholder focus is not only about the importance of having farmers having a decent life and a decent income, it's also very important for the total picture of feeding the planet in the coming years. So most of the farmers are smallholder farmers. Too many are farmer by default. And that is also why it's so important to bring in the entrepreneurship in farming also for the younger generation. Okay, so this is back to the multi-stakeholder partnerships. All the G4AW programs are multi-stakeholder, meaning that we need different parties to work together to make this possible. If you look at development aid, it used to be very much government-centered, and we now see that there's a shift towards the inclusion of companies, to inclusion of NGOs and academia. And that is a very good development. And I think the change with the SDGs is there's been a lot more buy-in, especially from the corporate sector, and not only from governments. And so this is important, but it's not easy. Our experience, we've built several consortia for the G4AW programs, but we must realize that there are culture differences between NGOs, between corporates, between researchers. So it's building trust together to actually make these consortia work. And that is something of the lesson that we have learned and that we're learning that is very important if you want to be effective. But we really also believe that the corporate sector engaging in these programs can give a sort of power of scale that we couldn't do if we were all doing it separately. Okay, let's focus in now on some of the experiences, the early experiences that we have had with the satellite data programs in G4AW. The first question is, how technically are we translating satellite data to a smallholder farmer level and advice? That is one of the technical challenges that we've been going through, all of us. I mean, satellite data needs to be somehow translated. It needs to be manipulated, if you like, to be able to make it applicable at a farmer level. And I've been visiting as I would say, somebody who's not familiar with all these digital appliances, and seen that on a smartphone, the information you can get And the accuracy you can get at a smallholder farm is absolutely fascinating, but it does need work. The second question is, how do we make it affordable for farmers? And this is something that I'm sure, will be discussing more this afternoon, because it also means that the business model is very important in terms of the sustainability of this service. And there have been too many examples where you use geodata, it's subsidized for 3 years, and after 3 years it stops because nobody is willing to pay the bill. So how do we make it sustainable? And how do we make it in such a way tailor-made to provide the services that the farmer needs? So how do we include the services, the questions that a smallholder farmer has? And I think that is extremely important. I mean, I saw this app where also, for instance, they could take a picture of a plant that they thought had a disease. They send a photograph, upload it, and they get an answer on what that disease is likely to be and how to treat it. But it's also to do about the weather conditions, it's to do about your soil. And so it's very important that the program supports good agricultural practice and supports the farmer in applying these. Okay, so that comes to sort of the central questions that we're looking at. How do we achieve long-term sustainability for these programs? And there's a few elements here. One of the programs that we are doing with East-West Seeds is based on a loyalty model. So it means that the clients of East-West Seeds actually get the information from the digital information from the company. And East-West Seed, I don't know if you're aware that their founder, Mr. Groot, was awarded the World Food Prize, which is sort of the Nobel Prize for food, a few weeks ago. So that is one of the models that we've been working on with East-West Seeds in the Smart Seed program. But it also means that the program needs to have scale. And so we need enough farmers in the database to be able to reach the scale to also reach a sustainable model. The other thing that we're looking at is whether we can expand the program to include other services that are important for the farmer. So one of them is financial services. I think some have been included, some have not. But obviously financial services for a smallholder farmer are important anyway. But digital information can actually help their credit rating, their credibility over time, their relationship with the financial institute, and also crop index insurance. Some of those are not included in all of the programs, but definitely will need to be looked at because of the fact that they're important for the services that we give to the farmers. And last but not least, I started with saying that we do need still a lot of research on these digital applications. So this is an ongoing program, and we're looking at a sustainable business model, because otherwise it will stop after the subsidy is stopped, after this program support from NSO is stopped. But we're also looking at continuous development in a more technical sense, academic sense, of the information that can be provided. So that is the issues that are on the table, not only today, but also as we are doing conferencing in Indonesia from tomorrow onwards, and learning from each other on what could be the best models. So I would like to close with the slide I started with, and also encourage that new businesses actually engage in this, in these type of programs. We need more businesses. We need businesses that are committed for a long term and that are willing to invest and are willing to look at the business models that are also there for their own business. It's not just about doing good. And also we need scale. So we're looking at scale, we're looking at expanding the business, and we're looking at sustainability of these programs. Because it's made a fantastic start. I'm very impressed. I think it has the future, but we're not there yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marinus. Now I'd like to introduce Ruud Grim, Senior Advisor, Netherlands Space Office, to give an introduction on geodata for agriculture and water, better known G4AW. Over to you, Ruud.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here together with all the G4AW projects and all the people from Singapore and also from the embassies. I'm very honored by that. A very quick introduction, because I think both Paul and Marina said already a lot of things about the G4AW program. It started 6 years ago with a vision and an ambition to develop and deliver timely and actionable information for smallholder farmers. And the funding is coming from the Netherlands government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from ODA funding. So it's really targeted at those countries where really farmers need a lot of assistance. We believe that by using satellite technology, ICT technology and mobile connectivity, especially here in Far East, it's really upcoming, we can make a change. And I think a year ago, I was here in Singapore the first time to meet with Paul. And I think already, Paul, you remember our first meeting? We spoke 10 minutes and then we said, yes, we are going to collaborate. Now, that is what I'm expecting from you. You are here for now 2 hours. That's much longer time. So you have much longer time to get acquainted. And I really hope that after this meeting, a lot of networking is taking place. You exchange information, business cards, and you really have a follow-up. Because that is why I think we are here. We want to inspire you and we hope, of course, you help us scaling up, let's say, this type of activities, not only for the countries where the Dutch government, let's say, has partnership relations with, but I think there are much more farmers that we can serve, and we have to do that together. Thank you very much.
Right, now we're going to go into the pitches. Now, for all those who are pitching, there are rules. It's very nice and easy. At the back of the hall, there's a nice big screen that's got 5 minutes on it. It's a countdown timer. When we press green for start, it'll start, and then hopefully it'll go down. Now, I know some of you have got a very big story to tell, and we want to hear all about it, but we're only giving you 5 minutes at this point. So be on point, get to your 5 minutes, and then either we'll have a big bell in front of me that I'll ring, or I'll come up and I'll take the microphone, and I don't think you want me doing that. But most importantly, you'll be able to expand on your story when we break for the networking. So we're going to be fair to everybody. Everybody has 5 minutes, and then we'll go into the panel, and then we'll go into the networking. Now, what's really exciting this afternoon is we've got 3 teams from Bangladesh, 1 from Cambodia, 3 from Indonesia, 1 from Myanmar, and 2 from Vietnam. So we've got a really broad cross-section of countries being represented here, which makes this very exciting when taking on such challenges. Now, we're doing it, just so everybody likes to know, it's in alphabetical order by country, and then internally alphabetical order by project name within countries. So it's totally fair. So all the way from Bangladesh, Tabith from GeoBiz, come on down.
Okay, thank you. So the idea of this project was basically using satellite imagery and satellite-based weather data to help basically improve the lives of farmers. In the target area that we worked with and want to work with, northern part of Bangladesh, It's called the Rangpur division, where 30 million people live, mostly on farming. Each of their land holdings are less than half an acre, meaning within 25,000 square foot, they have to produce their food, which they will sell and hope to earn a decent living. Based on this data, we have actually incorporated 3 aspects from the satellite imagery. One is pre-harvest, which is basically before they start harvesting, take images of the soil condition, regional flood waters, and any other area where crops were damaged to advise the farmers even before they start harvesting when and what. Second is mid-harvesting, where we see the vegetation images, the greenery, or any other color that's required or desired, and to really advise the farmer on how well they're doing. Are they on track or they're not on track? Have something happened? And third is, of course, post-harvest. Post-harvest doesn't really help the farmers as much, but it really helps the other stakeholders like insurance companies, supermarkets who are buying the harvested products, trucking and storage companies, non-government organizations which may have given microfinances to these farmers. So there's a whole host of stakeholders that are involved in this process. Our model is very simple. We are basically selling 3 products through the cell phone. It's the basic package, premium package, gold package. Gold package basically includes insurance and any other stakeholders' information required. Basic packages for the people who don't have smartphones, so the app doesn't work very well or at all on their phones. So we use basic SMS and voice services. So everyone is included. We have not left anybody out. In the million farmer database, at any given time, 200,000 farmers are using our system currently for small landholding, for vegetable production mainly, not big crops like paddy and maize, but for vegetable production. So what is the utility of this thing? The satellite images with weather and images are sending us the information which we are analyzing. We are adding the analytics to our intelligence of farming and harvesting, and we're pushing the best harvesting practices for that particular crop. And you know, in Bangladesh, we have over 150 varieties of vegetable crops, starting with eggplant, carrot, cucumber, to leafy vegetables like okra, spinach, which are highly susceptible. Bigger problem the world talks about is food production. But as we produce more food, we are not realizing how much food we waste. We waste by not having good inputs. We waste by not having good time of harvesting. And we simply waste by not having good storage or timely harvesting from our fields. That is the solution we're giving through these 3 services. We're actually telling the farmers when to take the harvest out of the fields, when is the best time to contact the supermarkets or the trucking companies. So we have seen that through our services so far, farmers have gained economically 20 to 25% financially. This is with the same land and same production they used to do. We just mitigated the risks of wastage. We are basically seeing that 3 years have gone by, this model works. Farmers are already paying us 25 cents a month in subscription fees. Basic package, 25 cents a month. Each farmer in the rural Bangladesh spends about $6 a month on mobile technology for anything they do with data and voice. So we have projected that we need $4 million to make this project go forward. We would like to invest $2 million. We're asking our investors to add that $2 million, 50-50. And in 7 years' time, you can exit with a minimum 6% profit per year. And this is only talking about a target of an area with 30 million people. If we can scale it up together with 160 million people in Bangladesh, the sky is the limit. Thank you very much. Time is also up.
Well done, right on time. Extra round of applause for that. Next, also from Bangladesh, is Midjul Chowdhury from Geo Potato. Come on down. Now, hopefully the slides are working for you, sir. Looking good. Try one. Okay,
Yep.
now go back over to you.
Yep.
Time starts now.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity to the Dutch government and the NSO. So I'm here to talk about a phenomena called late blight, which actually devastates a significant portion of potato farmers in Bangladesh. and causing different kinds of national havoc and in terms of productivity. So in order to prevent this from happening, okay. Where should I? Yeah, okay. So in order to prevent this from happening, what farmers do is they apply either too much or too little fungicide, causing different kinds of environmental impacts. The farmers also their profitability also gets hurt because of this. So, but there is a solution, and the solution is that the solution is that there are certain local climatic parameters based on which late blight attacks. So our solution is based on the fact that we essentially track these local climatic parameters, and as soon as they reach a certain threshold, we start sending SMS messages to the farmers 3 days before the infestation. And we are now also creating a GeoPotato Plus service which incorporates seed-to-seed best management practice recommendations for the entire season. And this is how it works. And over the last, should I point there? Okay. So, and over the last 1 year or so, actually over the last 3 years or so, we have worked with thousands of farmers, and then the total number of subscribed farmers that we have for our service is about 42,000. And we have seen that the average financial benefit for these farmers is about 200 euros per hectare, which means that if you aggregate this for the entire 42,000 farmer population, the financial benefit is about 8.4 million euros. And we have achieved that with a cost of operational cost of only 35,000 euros, because a lot of the service development costs have already been borne by the project itself. So, yeah. So essentially, I mean, our business model is based on two revenue sources. One is the subscription-free from the farmers, and the other is the subscription-free for agro input companies promoting their products through our service, through our SMS services. And our costs sources are essentially recommendation costs, operational costs, and service development costs to kind of expand this service to other areas. And through our break-even analysis, we have seen that the GeoPotato service will actually break even within the third season. And the GeoPotato Plus service will actually break even within the second season. So what we're essentially asking for is an investment of anywhere between $300 to $400 million so that we can actually scale it up across the whole of the nation and also outside Bangladesh. So essentially, I mean, during the project, we essentially worked with a particular region in Bangladesh. Now what we have to do is essentially scale it up across the entire nation. So that is what we need the investment for. And we essentially, I'm looking forward to looking to all the interested parties to explain more about the service and how we can actually scale it up in Bangladesh and then go global with the service and essentially build on the successes that we've already achieved. Thank you so much.
No.
Okay, well, maybe you might like to take that up in the Q&A. It'd be a good time. I'm sorry. Just to keep us moving, our third and final from Bangladesh, Shamin Murad from IDSS. Shamin.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to tell you the most exciting story I have been a part of in my recent years. This is the intelligent decision support system that we have developed with the support of Netherlands Space Office and two Dutch partners, Nijland Schumaers and Servition. And in Bangladesh, we have SNV and ACI, the largest agriculture input conglomerate in Bangladesh. We are working in Bangladesh just to show you how small we are. And we have also differentiated with Russia that they're 125 times bigger than us, but they have less population than us. They have only 144 million people, and we have 170 million people. And both the country needs to feed this similar amount of people. And the farmer who are working in to feed these 170 million of people with this tiny piece of land, in fact, they are our target population. So this is basically a typical farming family on the harvest day. You see, this is very difficult. They have no working attire, not even shoes. So this is a very traditional farm family in our country. So we are working to develop free advisory services, completely free of advisory services, weather alert, pest alert, and also advisory practices from the senior professors and those who know agronomy better. So smallholder, mostly we are working with rice farmers. We have 15 million farm families in our country, and average land size of the farm family is 0.05 hectare. That is only 50 decimals. This is one of the lowest in the world. And our target to reach 1 million farm families by 2021. We have we have gone through many need assessment studies. Mostly the need of farmer is profitability, and to ensure that profitability, they need capital, they need quality seed, crop protection, soil health information, irrigation efficiency, and knowledge on better management practice, and reach to extension, and access to market. And to cover those services, we have these services, My Crop Dashboard, that is very customized for his land. He get his automated SMS and pop-up SMS when he get registered through, like his entire crop cycle, it's 140 days for rice. He get automated services and automated advisory services free of cost. And there are also pest and disease alert, question bank, call center, profit loss calculator, farmer's toolbox. And we have also introduced pre-commerce, that is assisted e-commerce. They can order their input and they get it from our colleagues. We provide these services through these 4 applications, web application, Android and iOS, and text messages and automated voice calls. And our business case is we create value through developing reliable source, utilizing information for farming community by revenue sharing from input companies. Our business model is loyalty and inclusive models. The farmers and extension and LSP, local service providers, and input companies. So these services, we provide them, and the benefit they get is like the followings. So we create more value for the farmers, and we can capture more value by the input companies. And our eyes on to develop this platform as the ready for the rural economy. We have already 70K registered farmers, and they get all the information free of cost. We have 8,000 registered dealers and 5,000 registered extension officers. And we get 280 questions answered. And in the first 6 months, we got 0.5 million USD order for inputs that we have sold from our companies. So we can find us. We do road shows and in the happening places that in local we call Hard Bazaar, and in demo plots. So next, we are working in Bangladesh. This platform already used by 1 lakh farmers, and we want to strong our foothold in Bangladesh by 2020. And next year, we want to go the neighboring rice-growing countries like Myanmar, Laos, and Vietnam by 2020. Thank you very much.
Saved us 30 seconds. That's very good of you. Now, moving to Cambodia, Sopek Chan from Angkor Salad.
Chumriep Sua. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Just wait for your slides. We'll just get those up.
It is my great pleasure to be here today and to present Angkor Salad. We have been just start for 1 year. Angkor Green is a private company. We operate our business 5 years already in Cambodia. Our purpose is to provide one-stop solution in agriculture for Cambodian farmers. And we are not just selling agro inputs, not just selling drip irrigation or tractor machinery or other innovative technology, but Angkor Green provide training to the farmer, farm intervention and visit. Currently, we have 125 staff. Mostly they are agronomists, horticulturists, agriculture field, and they are based in 23 provinces of Cambodia. We have 25 provinces in Cambodia. And Angkor Green, you will see here, Angkor Wat is in is the one among the wonder of the world, and we put in green color. And we are here today. We work with ECO, with World Vegetable Center and other four Netherlands government to handle Angkor Salad projects. Because we see the challenge of the farmers, climate become more and more unpredictable, and they need to use more inputs like fertilizer and pesticide to make the yield better. They are challenging in using a proper use of agrochemical input, especially pesticides, because some farmers they mix together fertilizer or pesticide without knowing exactly what will happen in the field, and it is also affect to the farmers' cost of production and also the health. And we in Cambodia high potential for the crop failures because there is no crop insurance yet, and it is a big opportunity for the crop insurance projects. And we see the challenge in the market information, market facilitation, market access for the smallholder farmer. So sometimes they grow a lot, but they get less income because of less market access. So that is why Angkor Salad is set up, and we planning to work for 3 years to cover 100,000 households of vegetable growers in Cambodia. We work in 16 provinces of Cambodia, and not all the 16 provinces is not only vegetable growers, but other crops, other high potential plantation like cassava, rice, mango, cashew, and some other crops. And this service will also provide to the farmer association, cooperative, microfinance, and hopefully they will get more clear information for their business facilitation. And excuse me. So Angkor Salad will address provide this 5 service, and hopefully our app will be implemented in November this year. We provide irrigation advice. We provide fertilizer application because we have identified the crop servant vegetable to be introduced to the farmers, and we know exactly what nutrient they need, and soil fertility, we know how farmers they should use the input right to reduce the cost of production and to increase the yield. And crop management advice, because we have a lot of, all 65 of our team are in the field, mostly they are agronomists, and they work with the farmer to provide the intervention support to the farmers. And we also link to the market through the market information, provide the platform for the retailers to the buyer who can log in the app and they can find who is the producers. So there's matching between buyer and producers. And we will advise on the CAMGAP, Cambodian Good Agricultural Practice. We currently, our Ministry of Agriculture, because one of the General Department of Agriculture, also our consortium members, and they are training our team to become a trainer, and now we are getting training. We were planning to train the farmers, and this advice will be included in our service. As you see in here, Angkor Green team will work closely with the farmers to collect all the information, farmer profile, farmer data, soil profile through our demonstration, and it will go to Angkor Salad app. And the app will be provided, we will translate the information from the satellite data and give this information back to the farmers. And then farmer, they can subscribe and pay the service. And another one, we can also work with the cooperative, NGO development program, and some others private company like microfinance, some other buyers, they can access to the information and buy, they get the information. So it is a big opportunity for Cambodia because we are not just only working in vegetable, but cassava is second leading after rice. Also, we have mango, cashew nut that we are very special in. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're moving to Indonesia. And from Indonesia, let's welcome, well, I'm not sure that you actually are from Indonesia, but may you were, Eric van Valkenhoed for G4, or G for Indo, of course that's what it is, G for Indo. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't look very Indonesian. Yes, we're here to talk about the G4Indo project. We're about halfway through the pitches now, and I'm very surprised that I didn't hear any specifics about rice yet. I mean, how is that possible? But here we go, a specific project about rice. Rice is very important throughout Asia, but especially for Indonesia. They are almost self-sufficient, so they still have to import some rice. And now, when Jokowi took office in 2014, it was his promise to make Indonesia self-sufficient in rice again. So that was politically and economically is a very important statement from him. However, the rice is threatened in Indonesia by a lot of things, pests. We have droughts and we have floods. You only have to open the newspaper and there's a lot of news about that. So what to do about this? For this reason, the government in Indonesia has started a big crop insurance program, especially for rice farmers. So the farmer pays a small premium, and he gets payout when the field is destroyed by pests, floods, and droughts. We defined the project together with Jacindo, the state insurer, to build for them a tool to make this insurance work. And I'll tell you why. This is the project consortium. To the right side you see a number of Dutch partners, and to the left side the Indonesian counterparts, of which Jacindo is the product owner, the insurance company. So we use optical satellite data as well as radar satellite data, because it's very cloudy in the wet season, so optical data won't do much good there. What we do is we transform, if it works, yeah. So we follow the crop growth over time. A normal crop behaves in a certain way, but also a crop that is drying, or if there's a flood or pest and disease, you can see that in the crop growth curve. So we transform the images to leaf area index, and the idea, whoa, this goes a little bit too fast. The idea is that you can, by following the crop growth, you can look at a normal graph of rice. For example, this case, this is like a normal growth curve, but also you have like a damaged crop, and you can see that in the crop growth curve. Dried up rice fields look like this, for example. This is an example of 2015. The project started in 2014, and it's already finished, by the way. So what we built for Jacindo is an analytics platform. So this will allow Jacindo to check claims. So how it works is like the farmer has a claim. For example, he says that his field is flooded. How to check this? Because it's prone to fraud, an insurance like that. So with this platform, you can go to the specific field of his. You can analyze from a number of data points, being optical data, radar data, but also weather data. You can check if this claim is correct. So this platform is meant as a tool for Jacindo to check claims. Now, if you have the platform, which is still up and running, and there is a claim from a farmer, there's two things you can do. You can, based on the platform, you can accept a claim, which saves you a lot of field work, because the implementation of the insurance, the big problem is the field work. Now they are still going for each claim. They have to go to the field throughout all Indonesia with a number of people to establish the amount of payout, to measure exactly the damaged area. And we think this can be done by satellite data. The second option is that you reject the claim because you don't see any indication of flooding, pest or disease or drought. But the third one is more likely. It's undecided. So you still have to go to the field and reject or accept the claim based on that. We have seen that more than 50% of the claims can be directly accepted through this platform. So that saves about 50% of the field work. And the amount of field work is so much that this insurance could never be profitable for Jacindo without this system. So everything is currently it's also a cloud version, but for various reasons we made a dedicated processing box. So all the data is being processed on this little mini PC, which is running 24/7 at LAPAN, the Indonesian Space Agency, ingests all the data and spews it out to the system. All the local offices throughout Indonesia have been trained to use this system, so the system is not used by farmers. We don't send information to farmers, but only local branches of the insurance company. They have all been trained to use this system. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, your next colleague from Indonesia, Reza Hanjaya from Smart Seeds. Over to Reza.
Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, thank you for the time. Today I will to show you about our project. We call it Smart Seed. I coming from Ewindo, who has 3 decades in Indonesia helping the farmers. We really know our farmer in Indonesia is smallholder farmers and lack of information. But they want to know some information to make them, to helping them to make a smart decision. So this is the information they want to know, but currently no one helped them unless we as a seed company going down to the field and then give the information verbally to them. But right now, we give the smart seed information into a handy smartphone that they can be used to analyze the data, the information. So this is our product. We divide it into 2, used by farmers in using the Android application and text-based service. And for the client at Ewindo itself is web-based services. Okay, this is the freemium business model we charge to the farmers. Right now, the information in the application is like this. It's more user-friendly and they can see the fertilizer advice, which give the information about the dosage of about the fertilizer. Second one is weather and climate forecast. This one is for 6 months ahead. This is the new one is pest and disease advice. We will give the picture of the pest and disease and then can analyze the information about, they need to be, give the pesticide like certain level. Irrigation advice. Irrigation advice also, we still figure out to information to give the more user-friendly for the farmers. We can show it now. This one is text-based services. So basically, not everyone in Indonesia using the smartphone, especially for the farmers. So we give also information, same with the apps, but a little bit, minimum character, because only in text messages. Up to now, we have 20,000 users of farmers in application since it launched in last year, 2018. And for text messages, we piloting around 100. Now they use for 91% using the text service around for all 100. It's just launched in March 2019. Now we move to business model. Oh, I forgot it. So the Smart Seed is focusing on 3 crops, tomato, chili, and cucumbers. And only in 3 provinces, around 34 provinces in Indonesia. This is the information. So we have farmer profiles, yield, soil information, map. We can have everything. We have everything in Indonesia, and we can modify it and transform it into anything. Maybe graph, map, and text information that can be used by the company to help make a decision. This is the result of the project. The advice to the farmer gives the farmer reduce the cost 3% up to 80%, mostly about the fertilizers. And the second one, increase the yield up to 28%. So you can imagine, in Indonesia, we have 35 million farmers. So big numbers for N potentials. And I need you. I need everyone here to support us to grow the Indonesian agriculture. Thank you very much.
Now, Fakru Razi is going to spice it up, also from Indonesia.
Thank you. I look more Indonesian than the previous one. Okay, that screen very intimidating, actually. Okay, start? Yeah. Let me check first. Okay. Oops. Okay, I want to go back. My name is Razi. I'm a project manager for Spice Up from ECO. But today I'll be representing the Verstegens. Verstegen is the owner of the project. It's a Dutch company in spices based in Rotterdam. So the Spice Up, we also work with the satellite data. We provide recommendation for farmers based on satellite data. But our commodity is in peppers in Indonesia. These are our partners. Verstegen is the owner, ECO from both Indonesia and Netherlands, consists of PPP consortiums. This is our area of work. We work in 4 provinces in Indonesia, this is the target of our farmers. We will work with 100,000 farmers for 3 years of the projects. We are now at the year 1 already. We also try to encourage B2B, 500 B2B, and also we will try to improve farmers in performing the agriculture practice on their farms. Next. To start our project, we do our first challenge mapping. We do a baseline, basically. We interview more than 1,000 farmers, and from there we identify a key finding. At the moment, because of the price of pepper very low, it reduced the time they use to spend in the farms. It's also reduced the time to buy an input for the farms. They also have very poor access to GFP, and they also have lack knowledge of pest disease, fertilizers, and also longer dry seasons. We also asked them about the access to phone. 88% of the farmer has access to phone, and from that 88, only 2% don't have access to smartphones. So they basically have a good access to technologies, and most of them has access to internet at home as well. So this is a good start for us. I will jump quick on this. I'll skip this one because this is already present. A collaboration is what we expect in our project. Sorry. This is our services, water management based on satellite data, fertilizer advice, the pest and disease, the GFP and traceabilities. So as Paul earlier mentioned, what we try to give is to give a good decision making for the farmers based on the information needed in their farms. Sorry, it's taking really slow. So here are the service. We have 5 service channeled through the app to the farmers. And in that 5 service, we divide it into 2. Okay, it's not working. Okay, first is traceabilities. What we offer in traceability is that all the product under Spice Up can be traceable to the farmer level. It's easier for us because we work in the single commodities. So you can actually trace where it came from, and not just where it came from, but also how the farmer performs in the plot. These are the landing of our buyers. So buyer can actually find the nearest farmer who has a product, and then they create a transaction, make a transaction, record all the data of the farmers. In the on-farm activities, we combine the satellite data with the field input from the farmers. So we create a parameter for monitorings. We work with the expert for this. So the expert will identify the value, and then from the idea value, we generate recommendation with combination of the satellite data. And that feed into the activities of the farmers. These are the landing for the farmers. You can actually register your farm, and then on the third one, you put the parameters of your crops, and then you generate the recommendation, and it goes to your plot informations. What we offer here is a gamification of farming. So farming can be fun, actually. It's not just about farming. And also social media. You can follow farmers. You can also see how they're performing. They work offline. And also B2B opportunities. Can I have a short? So in the business, we know that after the project finish, we hope we're still able to financially running this project. So we encourage all of you to contribute, to join us as a client. So we offer 3 business models that we can work together in the business together. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, one presenter from Myanmar, Wilco van Roos, My Vaz for Agri. Now, you get the best effect if you hold it this way, and that's going right.
Okay, I'll try. Do my best. Okay, welcome all. As you can see, I'm also not from Myanmar. Our counterparts, they made this presentation. I got it today. So I'll try to do my best. It's quite a lot of slides, so let's go fast. This is about an application in Myanmar. We are doing first rice monitoring, and it's connected to mobile connections. And important is that all the information is going to that, and you can see that 80% of the Myanmar people are already using smartphones. So this is going very fast. Well, the smallholder farmers, they have some challenges. First of all, they're working with quite old traditional farm practices. And there are many, many challenges. And you can see in the next slide that the productivity of Myanmar is very, very low considered to the other countries. So there's a lot to gain there. Here you can see a couple of the partners which are working with us. Village Link, who made this presentation, and an Allbar, the agri provider, input provider, and Miyaki, all partners working together to provide information to Allbar and also back to the farmers. So, of the app we are going to working, you can see that there are 4 million potential customers. So, if you're working with an app, then there's a high chance that it can be used. You can see that 66% has a smartphone, while the literacy rate is quite high, 90% is almost. So there are different target groups. First, of course, you have the pioneer farmers, and if you look to the business to consumers, you have the people who want to have some information, or it's all different types. So what kind of, there's something wrong with the presentation, I think, because it's half split, yeah. So you see that there are question and answers. So the Tweeto app, this is called, it provides a tool to the farmers with question and answers. When they have something, there is a call center 24 hours or 7 days a week. They can ask information about anything. There's crop guides in it. There's financial services in it. We are building now a weather system and crop prices and etc. There's also a locality program. If you scan a QR code on when you buy a product, then actually you get bonus points. So in a short time, there's already 350,000 apps installed and about 50,000 monthly active users. So the data collection for business. From the farmers, we get a lot of information back. And then together with the satellite information, the geodata and the app data, information is saying something about the locality of the crops, the stages, different crop stages, about floods, if they are occurring or not, giving information about the yields and the output sales, and all kinds of other. So for business to business, first of all, the Alba wants to have acquiring new customers. And you see there's a lot of achieving long-term customer loyalty. And it's better explained by the next sheet, this one. So why is it used? It's first of all, if you use the app with all the information about from the satellite images and the information from the farmers, it improves decision making. When are you going to apply a fertilizer or a pesticide? When is the best time? And Alba can actually go to the farmer and tell the extension workers, go now there because now there seems to be something going wrong, maybe with the crop. That's also a side product. So first of all, for them, it's more efficient and selling more products. And in the future, also monetize, it's going to be used for crop insurance and microfinances. So the challenges are, among the farmers, the literacy rate is still a little bit lower than the rest. So there's a challenge there. You may have to make the application a little bit more user-friendly. And also, sometimes it's not enough. It's not enough information which can be used now at the moment. The monetization, who's going to pay for it, that's also another issue. So the future, directory listing, crop insurance, weather advice, etc. I'm going very fast now because I see my time is up. So here you see some overview of what kind of geodata are used. You see an image of land use, but it's also weather data involved. The middle one is the radar component, where I'm representing South Vision. We are using radar to see all the crop stages. And here, every 12 days, you have an image with stage something about the crop. So you can see on the scatter which crop stage you are, and that tells you information also to Alba, how much is actually being developed. Is there something going wrong? Might there be an occurrence of a disease? And also the floods and everything are monitored. So thank you very much.
About time. No, let's give it up. If you hold it this way, and that's going to the right. Okay,
thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, afternoon very interesting because before presenter is men. Now maybe only me, woman. Okay, my name is Hương, project manager about the green coffee. I'm from Vietnam. In our consortium of green coffee in Vietnam, we have the 10 partners, the 6 partners from the foreigner country and 4 partners from the Vietnam country. And in our target group, it's the building information system service for support to farmer with the farming, coffee farming, and for coffee fertilizing, and even for the watering, for efficiency. And as you know, Vietnam The second country have the coffee export very big productivity. In our country, we have around 700,000 area for coffee farm, and there are around 600,000 coffee farmer. They work in the farm. Yeah, and even every year, the turnover from the coffee productivity, they contribute around 30% for GDP in Vietnam. That's why coffee very important in Vietnam now. But now they have some problem with the facing, for example, climate change. The old coffee tree, they have to replant another one. And even they have competition with another tree, even for the limit water for the dry season. Yeah, that's why we're thinking about we have to build the information for support to the farmer. Yeah, in our information service, we have the 3 social data. The one from the satellite data, like geo data, and the second one from the field data, and another one from the expert advice data. Yeah, we compile 3 one, like some weather data, soil map, and NDVI, SPI data, and even for some coffee trader price information and the farm side location information something. We also building information for the 3 kind of channel. We building for the mobile app, for the smartphone, SMS, for the traditional phone, and even for the website. We support for the farmer because the farmers, they have the different kind of device, terminal device. And even now, we already have around 10,000 farmers, they already download and install our app in the mobile. And now we also have the business model trial phase. We have the exclusive business model and even for loyalty business model. And the buyer, they have to pay money depend on what kind of information is useful. Yeah, some information we get free, but some information we have to pay for the hour. And also we have 3 kind of business model: B2Z for government information, and B2B for some factory processing factory, and even for B2C, B2 farmer. And in the future, we also thinking about the advanced technology like smart agriculture. In Vietnam now, they have the 4.0 evaluation industry. That's why they want to apply the advanced technology in the agriculture, like smart agriculture, IoT, and machine learning or something. Not only green coffee, even for tea and for the pepper and durian, because some tea have the same environment like a coffee. Okay, thank you very much for the listening.
Thank you very much. Now, our final presenter from Vietnam, and our final presenter for the afternoon before we go into the panel, Alexander Hoff, Sat for Rice.
Thank you very much.
Same instruction, hold it this way and everything should be okay.
Thank you. Fine. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexander Hoff. I work for an SME in the Netherlands, Nela Schumans. Today I will be representing Set for Rice. Set for Rice is a project that we started 3 years ago with a great team of people. And I'm very, very excited to tell you about what we have done and why we have done it. So, very shortly, so what is Set for Rice? That's probably the first question that's in your mind. Set for Rice is a smartphone app that is being developed for smallholder rice farmers to provide information that helps them in the rice cultivation in the field. So far, we've reached over 50,000 smallholder farmers in the Mekong Delta, and we're currently looking to scale up with concrete initiatives in a couple of few countries. So the smartphone app is Set for Rice. We make it smart by connecting the app to a cloud-based geodata platform. In the platform, we use satellite data, but also other data sources, open data, but also crowdsourcing data to create, to our opinion, the best possible data set that you can have to base your information services on. And that's actually where the brains of Set for Rice is. We've done it for two reasons. Firstly, to provide the best possible information to the smallholders on their smartphone devices. And secondly, also to increase the efficiency of the complete workflow. So with a special focus on the rice miller. But I will tell more about that later. I see I have unlimited time, so that's a good thing, I guess. So I would like to summarize Set for Rice to you in... oh, that's bad. Thanks. So I would like to summarize Set for Rice in 3 key principles that are important to us, why we chose to make what we have built. So the first one, and that is probably the most important one, is embedding in the local context. In Set for Rice, we work with a local rice miller who has over 1,500 field extension officers already supporting rice farmers in the field. So when we realized that these people were available, we knew that we had to integrate this in the whole workflow that we have designed. Secondly, and that's also something I hear a lot today, the projects that we are doing, they are not meant to be a one-time projects, but they are meant to be a start of a continuation of information service. But it has to be sustainable, also financially sustainable. And this means that you require a business case to make it sustainable. I think at Set for Rice, we did not took this business case as something at the end. We started with developing this business case. And actually, in the past 3 years, we've made a lot of decisions in the project based on the requirements and the boundaries of the business case. Thirdly is what we call integrated service provision. It means that you, of course, try to get the best data available for your service, like the satellite data from multiple satellites. But there's also a lot of open data available. Most people know OpenStreetMap, but there is actually a lot of open data that can be used for these purposes. And thirdly, we use the smartphone app as a crowdsourcing mechanism to, when the extension officers are in the field, to push a notification to the system about what they see with their own eyes. That is important to create the best possible overview of the rice system as a whole and to be able to power that back to the smartphone app that we have developed. So the smartphone app provides information about the current rice growing conditions. For each farmer, we automatically detect the growth stage of his field to adjust the advice to the rice cultivation to that growth stage. But we also provide pest and disease alerts. By crowdsourcing all the pest and disease alerts in the whole region, it's possible to get a very accurate and real-time image of the pest and disease risks. You can imagine that we have built this database, this system, with the best possible information on the rice cultivation. And it actually covers the whole Mekong Delta for our project. So we use this information for the app, but it also allows us to build a accurate, real-time, and relevant rice information service. The screen says 45 seconds, so I will finish it. So that's what we did. We built a rice growth information system on top of the same platform as the smartphone app. This is what our partner, the rice miller, uses to optimize their work activities, like logistics surrounding the rice mills or the coordination of the field staff. And the efficiency gains from that are a revenue that we use to cover the costs for the operational app service to the smallholder farmers, so we can provide it for free. That way we close the business model. There is a video online that, if you want to know more, there's an interesting video on YouTube. You can search for Set for Rise and you will find it. I will also be here today. That's all for now. Thank you for your time.
I think we have given the panelists, the presenters a hard time in 5 minutes to present their case, but I'm going to give now the panelists a hard time. They are not prepared for this, and they have to, of course, to improvise. I'm going to ask them in 30 seconds to react on the presentations that they have seen. And a few keywords, what you think. And I think I'm going to start with, okay, you want to prepare. I give you 1 minute to prepare. So it gives me some time to reflect on what I have seen. I think what we have seen today is quite astonishing developments, also from, let's say, starting entrepreneurs that really have to go into business development, and maybe they need also coaching. I think if you look around here in this audience, they have created a big environment for business development and coaching as well. And that's in fact any startup, what I want to give in that advice, really attract people around you that have skills in entrepreneurship and also in investors, because you will need that if you really want to engage with the real business world and the investors to that. So I think I've given you enough time to prepare. Catalina is still writing, so I start with, I call it in Dutch. Let's be careful. Rasserin.
Thank you very much. I'm Lasselin from Listenfield. For me, after I have heard about the project, the 10 projects that present, I would say that everyone have been very innovative in terms of making the technology to support for smallholder farmers. And they are very new for technology. I know that because I have been in this field. And secondly, they are very innovative in terms of how to make business work, because again, as I have experienced that to do business with smallholder farmers is not easy, as they have a low purchasing power, so that we provide the benefit for farmer, but how to make money. So not only just charge to farmers, so we have to think that, okay, the data that we generate the value, we should generate the value to support other part of supply chain so that we can generate more. Okay, if you're interested to know more, then come to talk to me.
So as a VC, I have a monetary perspective as well as an impact investment perspective. I think one of the challenges when I look across the presentations is to understand the barriers to entry and exit, because many of them have a very similar business model, very similar value proposition, and all aspirations for scale across the same region. And so one of the key areas where one can, of course, get a barrier to entry is, of course, through its distribution model. And having run mobile gaming companies across these emerging markets, one of the biggest opportunities is via the telcos in these markets, who have an incumbent customer base of smallholders and, of course, significant barriers to entry and stickiness with those customers. The second aspect is the financial model and ensuring we have a sustainable business model beyond just impact investment. And one of the opportunities through having a consortium approach is, of course, getting others in the value chain to pay on their behalf. And so those business models that I saw where the business-to-business aspect of financing is a focus, I saw as the more fundable of the opportunities. And finally, those that have an insurtech component or a financial services component, providing both an alternative business model and, of course, barriers to entry and exit.
Wow. Okay, so I come from Planet, and from my perspective, I thought that there's some certain themes that run through most of these presentations, and that obviously has to do with technology and how quick you can get technology into analytics and then into the hands of farmers to give them advice. I think this is a very common theme that's moving throughout both for the large enterprise farms as well as smallholders themselves. one of the things that I notice about when we engage with smallholders is that many of them are very traditional in terms of their practice. Many of them don't adopt GAP as you recommend it to them. So you have to sort of give them evidence-based advice and advisory. And to do that, I think you need to do some education. So a lot of the startups here have actually gone down to the ground, interviewed thousands and thousands of smallholders, farm holders, and that's really a last mile delivery that's really required. And I'm quite impressed with that. The other thing I notice is that there seems to be some overlap. I think lots of this stuff that each of these presentations have shown are actually reusable in multiple crop situations. The other thing I find that is missing in this particular presentation are presentations about tree crops and perhaps things like palm and other trees. So there's very much like field and also row crops. But I think in ASEAN itself, there's plenty of opportunity. Thank you.
All right. From my side, what to add? I also very much appreciated that the different actors in the value chain were mentioned and were thought of as potential user base. And coming from working with financial institution, that is very much welcome. Looking at how this data can be integrated. In the end, it is just an additional source of data that you would integrate to whatever source you're working with. So the more flexible or the more thought through systems that are developed are very promising. Yeah, that's all I'll add.
I think Catalina was reading my thoughts because she was already answering my first question going to ask her. She is quite sending or receiving my thoughts. We heard, I think, also it was addressed that the role of the partnerships in this type of developments, is that important or not? You can think of this is really a business enterprise should take this up. But as already mentioned, you have to engage with the users, and that's where the NGOs play an important role. But Catalina, for instance, if you have heard the different presentations, and of course the Dutch Platform for Inclusive Finance is looking into the use of, let's say, investigating the use of geodata for inclusive finance with its partners in the Netherlands quite a lot. What do you think the role of partnerships, like we have seen here today, is important also for developing services for inclusive finance? Can you reflect on the role of the partnerships for that, and what is needed for that?
Thanks. Yeah, so just very briefly a few words on the Netherlands Platform for Inclusive Finance. We bring together 13 Dutch investors of varied nature, be it commercial banks, development bank, ICO as an NGO, and we've been working over the last 3 years, I believe. We got in touch with Ruud and very much based on the G4AW projects, we thought, well, this makes a lot of sense. These are great innovations. What we were also seeing is that it is tricky to have smallholder farmer as the only user base. So on the one hand, financial institutions are very much key to be involved since the start, because a farmer will receive additional information on the app, will therefore make different choices, and might approach the financial institution for services. The main issue here is always information, data, right? That is the main reason, one of the main reasons people are excluded financially. So if we look at geodata, it is, as I said, adding a layer that allows for the farmer to connect with financial institutions, to receive input finance, to receive investment capital. And in that way, making smallholder farmers, agriculture being a very, very difficult sector to finance, less risky, or at least making the risks manageable, and on the other hand, lowering the costs. And I think in a presentation here, I'm sorry, I forgot, G4 Indo, I believe, the logic of having the insurance product lower the cost, because the model is still very much to have the loan officer go onto the motorbike and go and check each of the farmers. I mean, that's a huge cost that you can reduce. So on the one hand, we see farmers can benefit from this with increased yield, with a constant supply. It will provide a track record, and this translates for financial institution in risk management, improvement of risk management, in lowering of the costs, in making better designed products for farmers, and in increasing outreach. So that is very much key for financially including more smallholder farmers. In terms of partnerships, it's really bringing 2-3 worlds together, and everybody speaks a very different language, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error. And we are very, very thankful that G4AW has taken this on, and that we are able to bring in another piece of the puzzle, which is the financial institution, not just as providing finance, but as an additional user base. And I think, I would call that out to all the other people working with different actors in the value chain to think along those lines. How is it that the different actors can make use of different apps? Of course, great if it is one app where we can integrate everything, and then think of how is it that we can, throughout the value chain, integrate these different data sources to have the most transparent, the most efficient, and the most constant and well-working value chain.
Thank you very much. Maybe we have time later on also to reflect reflections from the audience on the role of the finance institutes in this and what opportunities they see. A question for Lisa. What do you see the role of the partnerships as you have seen today? Because you come from a business environment which is maybe completely different, but connecting high tech, let's say, with the bottom of the pyramid, that's another type of developing the market. So what is your reflections on that perspective?
So I'm an early stage tech investor taking stuff out of the labs to commercialization. And let's be honest, most early stage investors just don't have the risk appetite. So it requires someone or financial institutions who want to play at the higher risk end of the spectrum firstly. And it may not necessarily be a monetary gain that they're looking for. It may be an impact investment gain that they're looking for. The second thing is if you can get various players within the value chain aligned, you've got 2 opportunities for business model disruption. First is that you can change the level of alignment of incentives, which is fundamental if you want to get traction of your product. And second is you can change the level of information risk. So where in the value chain can you change the questions who, what, when, where, or why, so that it creates a disruption or an opportunity. And that's where we see the opportunities for a higher return on investment. And finally, if we want a sustainable business model, getting the stickiness of the players across the value chain, both aligned on incentives and aligned on the levels of information risk, either to create advantages for their firms or new business opportunities, is fundamental to getting sustainability.
Thank you very much. Rasserine, you are working in the stand in Japan, but especially also in Thailand, also with farmers, and you have been integrating now the satellite technology also in your businesses. Can you maybe explain on the challenges that you have been facing and how you have been dealing, and how is, let's say, did you learn from, let's say, anything of the presentations today? I was just wondering.
As Recent Field is based in Japan and Thailand, and firstly, we involved in providing satellite image analysis in Japan first. Firstly, we see the opportunity that with satellite image analysis, we can improve the model that can create the value on prediction that can support farmers to make the better decision. That's why we extend the opportunity to support smallholder farmers in Thailand too. And the challenge that we have been experienced working with smallholder farmer is that the first thing is that for us the ground truth data is very limited, which means that we can get the data from satellites, we can know the crop growth, but the problem is that we cannot get the historical data, for example, yields or the characteristic of crop in the past, in the history. So this is the challenge that we see from the real field experience. Secondly, how to monetize our services. As we have seen everyone present, that it will be very hard to charge the money from farmers, so we have to be open on collaboration and then also work with other stakeholders so that we can create a value for other stakeholders and get more money from another side of supply chain. And regarding to about the monetize, is also the challenge that how to charge money to farmers. For us here, everyone have credit card, but when we work with farmers in the remote area, they have no credit card. So we think that it's simple. If we create value for farmer, then we can just charge small money from farmer, but it's not that simple because how to make the system to charge the money from smallholder farmers. And yes, for me, I can see the opportunity of collaboration and the program that can support that being all stakeholders to work together is that we can share the knowledge that every party have. Secondly, we can share the value that we can generate. And it also can help us on accelerate the service to solve the problem in various sectors. As I give you example when we go to the real field. When we go to the real field, we say that, okay, we can provide the advisory support to farmers that they can improve the productivity in this village. It's okay. But then when we go to the next village, they have more questions, they have more problems that they want to improve the soil quality, what to do, or they have a more problem on financial part, so what to do. So if we bring in more stakeholders, then we can help to support smallholder farmers.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I'm going to ask Joseph a question, maybe it's good for you to know, I don't think it was mentioned, but maybe mentioned that all these programs build upon the satellite data provided by the Copernicus program. And that is a satellite program which is developed and operated by the European Commission together with the European Space Agency. And it's now composed of 6 different types of satellites. 2 are in orbit, so if one fails, then the other one takes over. And there's a third one on the ground to be launched when one is failing. So its data provision is continued for at least 20 years because the next batch of 3 satellites has been already ordered. So this is very important to realize. The provision of free and open satellite data as raw satellite materials for any type of services is provided. The Americans have the Landsat program, which is, luckily it's opened, let's say many years ago to provide the data for free as well. And they're still debating, let's say, if this Landsat program should be continued as a free service, but the importance of this is enormous. The program costs maybe 3 or 4 billion to build 3 satellites or something like that. But if you count the economic value, the societal value of this, it's at least 10 times that value. So that is very important, and it really stimulates a lot of innovation and skill. So then I come, of course, to jump to the commercial satellite providers, because next to that, the typical resolution is a ground pixel of 10 by 10 meter. But if you really want to look into the field, maybe to small differences into the field, you have to go to higher resolutions. And that is where the commercial businesses come in. We have here Planet, but there are, I think, at least 10 competitors doing similar things. He says, no. There's a lot of competition going on, and of course they have to, come with a good value proposition for the customers. So I was now wondering, you have heard a lot of, seen a lot of developments for smallholder farming. How do you see the opportunities for an organization like Planet to step in to this arena and to provide an added value also for smallholder farmers? So if you can reflect on that, I'm very interested to know what is your proposition.
I just love that question, and I must say this entire forum is such an eye-opener, and it's such an inspiring event as well. Just to let you know, we are also part of the Copernicus program as well, Planet, and that was already done like a year plus ago, I think. As far as commercial satellites are concerned, yes, we are not free. You have to pay some money for getting data from us, primarily because we're a private entity as well, right? We're not funded by a large government that is, benevolent enough to give out this thing. But at the same time, the mission, don't forget that the Planet came out from a mission to basically disrupt the world by providing satellite data to everyone as well. So that's part of the mission. And the other mission is also to be able to collect the entire landmass, the picture of the entire landmass every single day. And that mission 1 was completed last year. Was it 2 years ago? That's right, 2 years ago. So the idea of being inspired by this vision and mission of the company is why it started. Now, the thing about getting free data versus commercial data, of course, he rightly mentioned that we give a more higher resolution image. So we have a collection of a 3 by 3 meter pixel resolution data. We collect that every day, right, throughout the world. And to answer her question about getting cloud-free data, so the advantage is that we're overhead every day, right? We take pictures every single day, and therefore once the cloud's clear, we are there. We got that picture, and we've been taking these pictures for the last 2 years. So to answer the question about historical data, you have the entire Earth's image for the last 2 years in our database. And you can do every kind of analytic that you ever want to dream of. And deep learning will produce data that you've never thought was there on Earth. So this is a very large vision, and it's real today. So when a agricultural company comes to us and looks at free data versus our data, that's one of the things that they look at, among other things. Now, having said that, we also own the constellation of Rapid Eye. Rapid Eye has been around a long time. They were one of the first constellations that were designed for agriculture. And Rapid Eye has been profitable for a long time. So that answers the question about whether commercially available satellite images for agriculture is a viable business model or not. One of the very important elements that come to mind when we talk about getting data and using it for your agriculture-specific analytic work is that we provide support, right? So we have dedicated engineers worldwide that give you the support that you require. Oh, smallholder farms, okay. So basically you've listened to 10 presentations and they're all telling you about why satellite images are used for the benefit of smallholder farmers, right? So I don't think there's any doubt that satellite images are required And then when it comes to whether you want to pay for it or not, then you weigh those factors that I've just mentioned. Yeah, so that's basically, and to answer her question about two things, to talk about information, consistency, and to lower risk. Was that something like that? Yeah, exactly. So lower level information risk. So with a daily collect, you then have an assurance of the data that you're collecting, and then, that's the information that you're getting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we going, let's say, to have opportunity really to network, to exchange business cards, I really want to, let's say, also reflect a little bit with the audience. Who is here from agri-business perspective, listening to what has been presented? Only one or two, only very few. And okay, there was something more. And from the banking, who's here from banking and investors? They are here? So who else is coming from what direction? Because I see a very few hands being raised. Okay, maybe too much, and we will have a look into the audience list. I want to give you an opportunity to, let's say, to also maybe raise a question that you want to either have for the panelist or to one of the pitches. So is there anyone who has a question? I see one hand raised over there. Maybe you can come up here and also introduce yourself because we have only one mic. So any other person that would come. Sorry.
Okay, hi. Sorry, my name is Debisi Arinze, as I run a small aerial robotic company. Just started a startup here in Singapore. My question really is for Rasarin, right? Joseph mentioned that they have about 2 years worth of data available now. And I remember when you were talking, you said that part of the challenge that you have with the farmers is that there's not enough historical data. For your firm to be able to do the proper analytics, to be able to help the farmers do better predictions, is 2 years enough, given that, farming is seasonal, right? So you get only like two seasons there. Is that enough?
So for us, 2-year data actually is not enough to make a good prediction. But what we can overcome that problem is that if we have the data from various areas with different climatic zone or different soil characteristic, that also can help us to improve the accuracy of the model.
Anyone else who want to raise a question?
Sorry, this is not a question. This is just adding to the question and the answer. The other problem with small landowner farming is, especially in the Asian region, is that crop rotation is very important. Having the same crop over and over again actually ruins the soil and the farmer's future ability to farm. So when we have 2-3 years of data, is great, but it's also not always helpful because we need to then change him or her into another crop. So the data actually has to be more than one crop. Data should be multiple crops on the same land. Then you can start planning for the next decades to come. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yep.
I'd like to address the question to Joseph. Wilson Chua, Manila Bulletin, tech columnist. Have you come across people that wanted to use your satellite data to examine fertilizer runoffs?
I think there has been not specifically fertilizer runoffs, but when there is deforestation, there's a lot of the sedimentation, and there's a lot of flow, and those we can see. So some of the deforestation NGOs are looking at that. As long as they are visible, so we have RGB and IR, you can see it.
quick one. Just a technical question since I have you.
So, I think I was looking also at Adam. I think he gave me a signal that also we were in the closing minute. So I would like to thank the panel very much for the reflection and also for being that you are here. And I give over to Adam.
Well, I'm going to very quickly hand it over to Paul, who's going to make some closing remarks. But it's great there were so many questions, and what we want to do after Paul's closing remarks, which I know will be brief and to the point, and then we can continue to ask questions over some food and some beverages, which will get us asking even more questions. So here's Paul.
Yeah, look, thank you very much for coming. It was fantastic presentations, and I've learned so much and been quite inspired by what is happening in the smallholder sector across Asia. It's really not that long ago that the only way a smallholder farmer could learn anything was an extension worker going from farm to farm, and the power of digital is just really clear from these presentations. At the end of these events, we always tell you about what's happening in the next digital learning series event. We're going to make an exception today and tell you about the demo day for our upcoming Digital ASEAN Accelerator. We screened right across Asia for the very best ag tech companies that are working with smallholder farmers through a very careful selection process. We've come up with 7 very promising technologies. We've been working with them for 6 months now, together with our partners Yara and MUFG. And the final demo day, when they present on, pitch their business and present on what they've been doing as part of the accelerator, is here on the 30th of July. Please come. Please join us for a drink after the event.